Yeah, we're ready.
Hello and welcome to How to Use Gender to Sell More. I am Kendrick Shope and I'm here with my friend Matt Manero, and we're going to settle the debate today. Who is the better salesperson, men or women? I'm sure you can probably at least get an educated guess about who's on what side. Matt?
I'm on the male side until you prove differently.
Okay. All right. It's going to be, if nothing else, it's going to be fun.
But I'm open to you proving me different.
I love it. I love it. All right. So I'm going to share my screen here and we're going to get started. All right. The first thing that I want to do, and I do this anytime that I start any webinar, is I want to pause for a minute. I want to thank you for being here. First of all, you're the best part of what I do every day, and I mean that. I love interacting and engaging with amazing people like you. I want to thank Matt for having me here all the way in Texas. I'm so passionate about this topic that I flew all the way down here to settle this once and for all. But I also want to pause because I know that people say they're short on two things: money and time. Money you can make more of, and Matt can tell you how to do that. Time is your most precious resource, and so essentially by showing up here today, you are giving us one of your most precious resources, and I guarantee you we're not going to let you down.
Let's bring it.
All right, so just a couple of rules for success so you can get the most out of this webinar. We live in a society that is overwhelmed. We live in a society that tries to multitask. I read a study one time, Matt, that said when you are multitasking, you actually are have the same brain capacity as somebody who is high. But I guess a lot less fun, right? So if you shut it off. Shut off your phone, shut off your social media, close the door, shut down email, and be here with us. You're going to have fun. You're going to be entertained, and you're going to learn something. All right, so let's get it started. The great debate. Who is the better salesperson? The promises of this webinar were basically 4 main points. Number one, we're gonna talk about 3 key differences in the way men and women succeed. Obviously, I can't really speak to the way men succeed, so Matt is going to be here to help you out with that. We're going to talk about how you can use your sex or your gender to get more yeses. We're going to talk about the #1 mistake you're making that's costing you sales. And we're going to uncover once and for all who's better at selling, men or women.
We're going to uncover the winner.
We're going to uncover the winner.
We have a Twitter poll going as well that tells us a little bit too.
Yeah. And if you want to go ahead and cast your vote, you can type it in the chat. Who's better at selling, men or women?
Yeah, type in the chat. Let's get some conversation going.
Okay, so this is Matt, not Howard.
Who's Howard?
But I want to introduce you to why this matters, because if you're like my husband, you're probably rolling your eyes saying, seriously, we've turned this into a male-female issue? But it is a male-female issue. So I want to introduce you to 2 people, Howard and Heidi. This is a study that was done at Harvard. So a group of students were given a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper, it had a proposal, basically. And half of the students were given a paper written by Howard. The other half were given a piece of paper written by Heidi. The only difference in this paper was the name, Howard or Heidi. At the end of reviewing this paper, students, and it was a mixed gender audience, students were asked, which person are you more likely to do business with, Howard or Heidi? Howard won unequivocally. Both males and females said, Howard seems like the guy I want to work for. Howard seems like the guy I want to do business with. Howard seems like the guy I could go have a beer with. So things are looking pretty good for Howard. Heidi was a bitch. Heidi seemed like the person that nobody wanted to work for, that was self-serving, and you always had to look over your back when you worked with her. Now, I need you to keep in mind, it was the exact same paper. Heidi's the big loser here, right? The exact same paper. And the only difference was the name Howard or Heidi. So if you think that, oh, this is just something that this Southern redhead made up and gender differences and biases don't exist, you may be high, or you're not living in the real world, because they exist. And this Howard and Heidi study proved it at Harvard. So Matt, I'm curious, when you hear that, are you surprised by that?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm in a blue collar industry. We finance truckers, towers. It's a very sexist set up. Now that's not how it finishes for the pros, but it certainly sets up that way. And if you fall prey to that, if you fall into that trap, you're going to not do very well in my business and the industries that we do the financing for. Conversely, if you get this, you could kill it. You can crush it because, and I'm open to this argument, I think men in my industry have to drive home the message, but it does create a competitive environment, right?
It does.
Customer
Absolutely.
and salesperson fighting who's strong. But women, if they understand how to play it, can almost start taking candy from a baby. And I don't mean that in a sexist way. I just mean it I think women have the chance in certain situations to win easier than men.
Yeah. And I think, yeah.
But most don't. Most women don't understand that they can play the game that way.
So why not? Well, that's why don't most women do that?
You know, I think it's true. I think most men through ego just have to bow their back, puff their chest, and be the caveman. And I think a lot of women back down from that.
Yeah.
And I think that doesn't set up well in a sales environment.
Yeah.
Because all the woman has to do my wife is 5'2", redhead, and when she bows her back one time, and the argument's over. I mean,
she's my kind of woman.
There's just no more fighting because that's it. But when she doesn't bow the back, sometimes I push a little harder and I push a little harder.
Yeah.
But boy, the minute she stands up, I soften, she strengthens, she wins.
It's interesting because my mom talks about this with my dad. So I made a mistake several years ago. It wasn't terrible, but I made a mistake. We won't talk about that here on this webinar. And I remember I was mortified. I was so embarrassed. And I remember calling my parents to apologize. This was minor, like a speeding ticket kind of, like I didn't get put in jail kind of thing. But it was not like a real speeding ticket.
You set up a mistake.
Yeah,
we go crazy. We all go nuts on that.
Before everybody starts digging, like, has she been in jail? No, it was. Let me back up. I'm going to tell the mistake. Got a reckless driving ticket. Turns out I was going 5 miles over the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit in a school zone, and that is reckless driving. So I got a reckless driving ticket, and I was in college, and so I was on my parents' insurance, and I had to call mama and daddy and say, oh God. And I just kept apologizing, and my dad was harsh and cold, and I was like, he is really disappointed. And my mom finally called and said, stop apologizing. Be the girl that he raised and say, yeah, I was going 5 miles over the speed limit. You could have done it too. Yeah. Now, what the heck do we do? Yeah. And so it's that same sort of thing, that bow in the back and standing up, right?
You need it. Look, in the sales process, take men and women out of it for a second. I think in the selling process, there has to be a version of conflict before we can break through anyway. So you need no's. The best customers don't roll over.
Absolutely.
The worst customers roll over. So you need some no's. You need a little bit of a conflict. You need to be able to say to the customer, I can't do that for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the places where women fall so short is we get intimidated by the customer and think, oh, how do we make that happen? We'll throw that on, we'll add that on. And then all of a sudden you're losing money.
Yeah.
You may be getting the sale, but you're not making any money. Mm-hmm. And that ain't no fun for anybody.
And it doesn't get better because the next time that customer's going to steamroll you again, it's impossible to move prices up. So for a second, let's forget about the male-female. Let's talk about how you be a great salesperson.
Well, yeah. And that actually plays right into one of the reasons I'm here, because Matt is a phenomenal salesperson. He was telling me a story before we went on air about grit. And there's this bear that you all can't see, but we're sitting in this great studio that Matt has in his office, and there's a bear over here, a statue of a bear. And I said, all right, Matt, what's the story with the bear? Would you tell that story?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, the bear's here and we can move it so people can see it. I keep this bear very, very close to me all the time. And the reason for that is because in my book, The Grit, I talk about what happens in the wilderness when salmon swim back upstream. We all know that story, that salmon swim back upstream. But what most people don't realize is that the salmon could have swam thousands and thousands of miles away from where they were originally, where they were spawned, and they swim back to where they were spawned to lay their eggs. And along that journey, they're going to meet 3 types of bears. The first bear they're going to meet is the nastiest, meanest, most gritty bear, who will go to the most dangerous part of the stream, which is typically the highest waterfall where the water rushes the most, and also where the least amount of competition will be. And that bear will just simply reach out, catch the salmon as they attempt to jump over the waterfall. They'll take a big juicy bite and then they throw the salmon away. It's true, it's how it plays out. The next further down the stream is the middle bear, who will turn around and is smart and intelligent and understand that he or she doesn't have to be as gritty as the first one. And they just pick up the half-eaten salmon, they turn it, they eat the other juicy stuff, and they throw it away. And then at the end of the stream, where the water doesn't run very hard, you got the rats and the coyotes and the seagulls and all the other skinny bears / competitors who are fighting over the skeletons to pick through the scraps. That's what happens in business. I mean, the low-end salespeople fight over the low-end customers with the low-end competitors for the scraps. The next movement up the stream, you get some better customers, you get a little more competition, you get a better market share and a better volume. And then you got the nastiest, grittiest ones who just want to dominate and crush it. They don't care about everybody else. They're going to go into the marketplace, go to the riskiest part, and get the most juicy bites. And that's the point of the bear. I want to be the grittiest, nastiest bear out there.
I love it. I love it. Now, I know for my audience, because we got a mixed audience here. We got Matt's people, we got Kendrick's people. And so it really is a beautiful merge, by the way. But for my audience, when you hear nastiest, grittiest, I know what you may be thinking, that makes me uncomfortable. But stick with me. I'm not going to lead you astray. I'm not going to leave you out in the wilderness, so to speak. I think that Matt illustrates a real great point that we don't talk about a lot in my industry, and we should. There are some sales absolutes. Like, you can talk about differences in ways to succeed and differences in the way men and women succeed, but there are some sales absolutes. And the bear and the grit and the drive and the hustle, which is why I adore Matt so much, is one of those things. You got to have it. You got to want to change people's lives. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
If that's what you want.
If that's what you want. If you're in sales and that's what you want. Absolutely.
Look, if you want to sell enough product to surf in Costa Rica 6 months out of the year, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. But if money is really important and you want to be a top earner, the marketplace dictates that level of grit. I'm not saying everybody needs to be on my side of the fence or my side of the stream or whatever, my side of the waterfall, but you have to have clarity of why we're doing it. And so many people want this different outcome, but they're not willing to put in the effort and skill up and put in the price and the commitment. And so they just live in this terribly frustrated sales career.
Yeah, and I think that, one of the things that we talked about most of the month of October on my podcast, Sell Like a Woman, was women and money. Because a lot of times women are afraid to say, no, I want to make $1 million. We think, oh, who does she think she is? Or I want to make multi-millions, or I'm going to make. Men seem to have an easier time doing that. And I think that the first step for a lot of females is absolutely owning your place in the market and saying, it's okay for me to want this. This doesn't make me whatever society says it makes me. Money grubber, gold digger, whatever, right? It makes you you, which is why I have a job, because that's how I teach people to sell, by being you. Let's talk about 3 key differences in the way men and women sell. I love mnemonic devices. Do you remember mnemonic devices in school?
Tell me what it was.
Oh my gosh, I'm such a nerd. I have a mnemonic device for everything. So a mnemonic device is, like, for example, here we're going to talk about aggression, intuition, and relationships, which also spells AIR, A-I-R. So I never forget the 3 key differences because I can just think of AIR. That's my mnemonic device. I'm a total nerd.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so okay. So anyway, so we're going to talk about.
It's also called acronym? Isn't it?
I don't know, probably. I don't know. Down in Tennessee, we call them mnemonic devices. That's probably a made-up word, Matt. You probably can't find that in the dictionary. Acronym, yes. Abbreviation. And now I'm going to walk out with my head held high. So we're going to talk about AIR, because these differences are they're innate in us, as innate as breathing, as innate in breathing air. And so this is not something you have to do. This is something you should be able to do naturally and with ease, because they're innate to your personality. And science actually dictates this and proves this to be true. So the first key difference in the way men and women sell is through aggression or conflict. And a lot of sales greats happen to be men, and they talk about selling this way. So you push for the close, you drive people right up into their pain, you get all in their pain, and then you say, well, if you don't, you're an idiot.
Takeaway close. Yeah,
takeaway close. Exactly. That works. I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but for me, that makes me want to vomit. I don't want to tell people that way. It's just not my cup of tea. But science shows that men actually sell very effectively using this tactic, aggression, conflict. Now, I want you to think about the bear. I want you to think about nature. This makes sense because with natural selection, women stayed in packs, females stayed in packs, and men went off and hunted. They had to be the aggressor. They had to protect their pack of females. And so we've naturally selected for this, for men to be more aggressive than women. So it makes sense. Do you see this, Matt, with your salespeople?
I mean, I absolutely do. But I have to say on this aggression piece, I think the marketplace is really changing.
Really?
That aggressive, hard driving, sort of in-your-face salesperson, whether they're a male or female, selling to a male or female, that's a dying breed.
Yeah.
The new round of buyers, they want transparency, they want honesty, they've already done their research about you. So if you come on in as that person, they've already turned off. You're kind of just getting the appointment. They've already made up their mind. So it's really important to get this, that selling is changing very quickly.
It is. And I don't think that you all, I'm not sure if you all caught this, but Matt just made a point for why women are better salespeople, because the market is changing to a more feminine approach to selling, right? It is. Thank you, Matt. Score one women. I think you're absolutely right.
It's true.
It is. I read a statistic recently that said over 70% of buyers have done their research before you ever get on the phone with them.
Totally.
70%.
Absolutely. By the way, if you're in sales and you don't have a presence, if you don't have content, if you don't have a personal brand that's easily findable, whether it's on Google Organic or it's on YouTube or it's on social media, you're missing a huge opportunity because they are doing their research before the meeting starts.
Give you an example of why that is so important. So here's a bonus sales tip. I can also quote the stat for that. Over 70% of people look to, I believe it's 70% again, maybe 74, look to social media to do research on your brand. Here's an example. 3.5 years ago, my husband moved from the great city of Chicago to Bentonville, the great city of Bentonville, the great town of Bentonville, Arkansas.
You guys have only been there 3.5 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Moved to Bentonville, Arkansas. Now, I'm a shopper. I'm a stereotypical woman, and that's all right. I'm a shopper, and I needed some new jeans, or I needed some retail therapy. One or the other. The jury's still out. I went to the local mall, and I wanted a certain brand of jeans, and they just didn't have it there in Bentonville. And so what did I do? I got on my phone and I looked, where can I buy X jeans in Bentonville, Arkansas? And a Facebook page came up of this little boutique. I walked in, $2,500 later, I got my jeans and my retail therapy, all because they had a social media presence. Had they not, they would have missed a $2,500 sale. Like, this is so important, and people are just now understanding the importance of it. It's how I built my business.
I got a buddy, he is CEO of a bank, and a large bank in Michigan. And if you submit a resume to him for one of his positions that he has, and he goes to LinkedIn and doesn't see a reasonably good profile. Now remember, I didn't say no profile. I meant he requires a reasonably good. If it's not there, he just throws your resume out. If you, into this day and age, don't have a reasonably good LinkedIn profile, how are you in business?
Seriously, LinkedIn's the most underutilized social platform there is.
Huge.
I'm a nerd. I know I've said that, but there was a study that I have not finished reading that I started on the plane yesterday about Silicon Valley and people that are using LinkedIn compared to people who are not, which why would you not in Silicon Valley? That doesn't make any sense. But the numbers, I can't quote them because I don't know what they are yet. I can't remember. They were off the charts in the difference in the numbers of sales that people are able to make simply by using LinkedIn effectively. So there's a bonus tip for you. If you don't have LinkedIn, you're not on social media, get there.
Hey, here's what's crazy about it though. There's an argument that LinkedIn is becoming passe too. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you're serious about the social media and building your own personal brand, you might be able to skip it altogether. It could just be Snapchat as the platform you want to live on. It could be Cyberdust as the place you want to live on. So the point is, you have to embrace it.
You do, and you need to pick one and do it uncommonly well.
Dominate it.
Yeah, dominate it. So see, look, that illustrates the difference in men and women. Matt says dominate it. I say do it uncommonly well. It means the same dang thing, right? So I love this. I mean, just putting us together and you see the differences. Okay, so we talked about aggression. Number 2 is intuition. Science shows that women are more intuitive than men. Now, how can you prove that? Well, when women are in a situation where their intuition kicks in, you actually see different parts of their brain light up than you see with males. And so women may be intuitively, like you may be following the sales procedure, the technique, the the technical steps of your sales process, right? Prospecting, engagement, whatever. And it's time for the close. And a woman gets the feeling, yeah, we're not there yet.
Right.
A man says the next step is to close. I'm following. This is the step. We're ready. I've features, benefits. I've laid it out. It's time for the close. Let's go. A woman may say, yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Now, it could have been the man or woman that you're selling had a fight with their wife or spouse that day. You don't know. But you are intuitively able to pick up on buying cues better than men. Do you see this, Matt?
My wife says to me all the time, how do you not see that? Like, how do you not see that? It's so apparent to her. It's so completely unapparent to me. And then she bows her back and then she'll, because you want to talk about aggression? Put a woman in her sweet spot, her mastery, her superpower. You'll see the aggression. My wife, when she's incredibly intuitive, not business intuitive, emotionally intuitive, constantly will say, how the heck do you not see that?
So what's interesting about this, Matt, is I learned to turn this off. Years ago, I guess I learned to do things the way a man would do it. I didn't know what I'd heard of mother's intuition, but I didn't have a child at the time. I didn't know what intuition was. I didn't feel anything much from here down because I thought all the time. It was logical. It was the process. That's the way I learned to succeed. Now, I was doing some things that were innate to me that allowed me to be successful by using my femininity as well. But once I tapped into, yeah, I think I maybe shouldn't send this email right now. I can't really tell you why, but I'm not going to send this email. My business exploded. Yeah, it's so important. So we talked about aggression. What I left out about aggression is this. The may be changing, but here's something important. Research shows that when men and women are hooked up to an MRI, a brain scan, so we're watching their brain, and a man is in conflict, the sexual centers or the happiness centers of his brain light up. So serotonin's released, oxytocin, norepinephrine, not when a woman is in conflict. So a man, while the landscape may be changing, there's still room for you to use what you got because that's when you're happy and that's when you are in your zone of genius. So be aware that the landscape is changing, but also be aware that this is the way I like to sell, and so you have to find the medium there. Does that make sense?
Listen, it's like, let's go there for a second. It's like after argument sex.
Yeah.
It's usually only good for the man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The woman's still hurt. She's still thinking, right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
the man's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yes.
That's a real life scenario. That is your example.
And that is why I told y'all were going to be entertained because we're talking about selling and after argument sex here. I love it. I love it. I love it. Only the way we could. Yes, I think you're absolutely right about that. The woman's still replaying the argument and, oh, no, he didn't. And what about this? And yes, the man seems to be very good and very, very well easily to move on. Let's talk about number three key differences in the way we're selling relationships. So just like a man is happy and in his zone of genius when he is in conflict, a woman is happy in social situations and with relationships. And this is I'm good at this. I'm a social seller, if you will. So again, this goes back to natural selection. Women stayed in packs and we couldn't get ostracized from the pack because we were left alone in the big bad wilderness, and that left us not in very, very good chances of survival. Men didn't have to be good at relationships. They were the protectors. So women, we have naturally selected to be good at relationships. Use that. Figure out who, are they Duke or Carolina? Do they have kids? What do they love to do on the weekend? I used to, as pharmaceutical saleswoman, I would go in and I would say, I'm not going to sell you a thing for 6 months. I'm going to tell you what products I have, and that's it. I was essentially selling myself. I got to know the doctor's kids. I got to know the nurses' kids or their names. I knew who was playing football where. I ingrained myself in the office. And the reason that worked is because it was innate in my personality.
That's so important. And I have done such a terrible job with it. I've been a lousy relationship builder in my business. It might sound a little bit weird, but it's true. And for me, in all honesty, my real dad left when I was 6 months old, left my mother and I high and dry. I never saw him again. And I'm telling you, from that moment on, I never trusted anybody. Now,
really?
You don't know it at 6 months. You don't know it at 3 years old.
Yeah.
You don't know it at 8 years. You don't know it at 15 or 18, right?
Yeah.
But you know that from that moment on, something changes in you. You just know it's a different life. And so I replaced number 3 relationships with number 1.
Yeah.
And I just said, I'm just going to get it. I'm just going to go into the marketplace. I'm going to take it. And now at 47 years old, 21 years in business, good sized company, I'm actually figuring out how to put it all together.
Yeah.
And it's much better.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine you not being good at relationships, because when you walk into Matt's office, first of all, may I tell what you were doing when I walked in here today?
Yeah.
I mean, how can you say no, right? We got people here watching. I walked into this.
You're not going to take no anyway. So
Yeah, no, I'm not. So I'm gonna use aggression, even though I told people not to. So I walked into Matt's offices and
aggression masked as relationship
exactly
building.
with a little bit of Southern charm. So I walked into Matt's office and this wonderful man named Rich is showing me around and telling me about it. And he's like, I'm going to take you back to Matt's office. And I look up and Justin Timberlake is playing out of Matt's speaker. And I'm like, wait, what? This is the CEO of this gazillion-dollar company, the brains behind, and he is jamming out to JT Can't Fight This Feeling. And I got to tell you, I instantly fell in love. I already loved him, but that minute I knew he was doing business differently. So you seem to be heading in the relationship direction, my friend.
I think it's really, really important. I mean, at some point too, I mean, we're talking about sales here, but as people morph into a leadership role, because by the way, isn't that what happens? The top salesperson then gets to be the leader.
Yes.
Not always.
And they're usually terrible at it.
Usually terrible at it.
They're usually terrible at it. Sorry.
Our top guy here, he's been with us 16 years. I go to him every year. So you ready to take the, you ready?
Yes.
He's like, leave me alone.
Ah!
I'm good. I don't want that. So my point is though, when that evolution happens from a leadership role, you really got to get all this stuff down.
You do. You do. And the people that Matt and I, our customers and the people that we deal with have some things in common, and some things in common. And one of those is they want to get it. They want the life that other people aren't really willing to work for to get. They want to have it all. And that's why all of these make such a big difference. Yeah. It's important to understand that, yeah, all of these things we are innately different, and we use them to make more money and close more deals. But yeah, at some point you got to be good at almost all of these.
You could be okay at just one.
Yep.
But you won't get great unless you figure out these 3.
I agree. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. The unadvantage, as I call it. You like those legs there that I intentionally put on this slide?
I really do. That's great.
So
it would make me uncomfortable in a sales call, but
yep.
I actually, but it's an attractive picture. But if someone was sitting across from me selling me, it would make me
absolutely. So the unadvantage. There are some unspoken advantages that men have. There's some unspoken advantages that women have. The elephant in the room is looks. Right? Women, you got an advantage there over men. Even if you're selling to other women, I want to look at a woman who is put together more so than a woman who looks like she rolled out of bed, right? I want to look at a man who's more put together too, but women, we've got an advantage. Yes, my brand is high heels. My brand is look the best you can anytime you're out, and it sells. I'm telling you, there are offices I got back in simply because I was female and I was attractive. Now, you got 2 choices, women. You can get all flustered about it and say, that's not the way it should be, and our daughters deserve better. Or you can crush your environment by knowing that. Now, no, I'm not at all suggesting that you use sex to sell, but what I am suggesting is that you know your marketplace. You know the field you're playing on, and you use everything you've got to get in and share the benefits of your product. Does that make sense? And does that make you uncomfortable?
No, I mean, sophisticated buyers see it coming too.
Yeah.
And they almost expect it.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about it. I mean, Honey Boo Boo ain't going to make a lot of money. If Honey Boo Boo didn't have the reality shows, I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Listen, Honey Boo Boo dressed up, might.
Yeah.
Honey Boo Boo on top of her game, Honey Boo Boo understanding the product backwards and forwards and relationships and aggression and how to sell in any environment could be a killer. So my point is, you don't have to be drop dead gorgeous.
No!
You just got to be put together. Here's the last piece. When you dress up, you feel better. It doesn't matter whether you're in good shape or bad shape or DNA was blessed or not blessed. When you dress, you feel better.
You do. And you know, you read a lot of sales books from sales experts, and usually a lot of them are written by men, and they talk about, you know, looking the part, right? And they didn't skirt around this issue. But then when a woman talks about it, everybody gets all flustered because, well, what does she mean? Does she mean I have to wear high heels like that? No, that's how I like to dress. Doesn't mean you have to do it. We're just saying use what you've got. However you're the most comfortable, show up, look amazing. You're going to get back. You're going to get more attention that way. That is one of the unadvantages.
Okay, here's the deal, though. I think it's easier for men to look better in clothes than it is women. Men don't have to spend as much money as women do. So there is a money component to it because you don't want to look frumpy either, right? So you need to. It's harder. Women, a man could buy a $99 suit and look okay. You
got it. And so that's going to lead me into a story that I swore I wasn't going to tell. Here I go. So I flew in from Bentonville, Arkansas last night. I got to my hotel, was starving, went and ate a whole loaf of bread at a restaurant. My nutritionist is going to love that because, you know, I'm pushing 40 and put on 20 extra pounds and I'm trying to get off. So I ate a whole loaf of bread with honey butter. It was delicious. And this morning I got up and I was so excited about coming here, and I put my makeup on, and this probably won't mean a thing to you, Matt, but I forgot my foundation. Now it's 6 a.m. and I don't have my foundation. And let me tell you something, I need foundation. So I'm like, okay, well, I can panic or I can make do with what I got. So I literally put like 14 applications of concealer. Women, you know what I'm talking about. It's not even the right color. Like I kind of look green. Then my hair started doing all this flippy stuff. And I'm like, never again will I come see Matt Manero without hair and makeup done to be on films like this, because I don't know what to do with this. Like my hair's not cooperating. It's the Dallas water. And women, you know what that means. Then I put on my dress and realized I packed the wrong bra. So instead of looking politically correct, all of a sudden my, I don't know the right word, breasts are popping out of a dress, and I'm coming into this gazillion-dollar company and I don't look appropriate. All of that happened before 6 a.m. this morning.
And you still had to come play your game.
I did, because there's nowhere's open to get foundation or to get the right bra. And so I'm like, okay, here we are. The point is, it's a whole heck of a lot harder for women to use this advantage. You got it, you know, but you need to work it. But yeah, it's a whole lot harder. A whole lot harder.
To put all the more importance for the money piece.
It is, absolutely.
You need money. I mean, I think if you're going to play the sales game, male, female, it doesn't really matter. If you're going to play the sales game at a high level, you must move money to an area of importance in your life, and it needs focus.
It does. And one of my mentors says, money loves clarity. Marie Forleo. And that's so true, right? So true. So women, we've talked about this unadvantage that you have, and that's your looks. And you do. I mean, who would you rather sit across from? A woman who's put together, or a man? If you're a man, the answer's
how come you're calling it the unadvantage? Because I see it as an advantage.
The unspoken advantage. I call it the unspoken advantage.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So then we've got this, and it's the advantage that people don't necessarily like to talk about.
Got it.
It's not the politically correct advantage.
Yeah.
Men got. I am pulling out all my hit today. Men have some of these unspoken advantages as well. Men are able to go to the bar or to wherever. It doesn't have to be the bar. That's just where it happened to be in pharmaceutical sales, and sit and talk sports or whatever much easier than a woman is. I can remember, Matt, going to a cardiology convention, and I was one of the only female reps there, which is unusual because pharmaceutical sales is dominated by female reps, or it was at the time. And I was one of the only female reps down among all these doctors, and they were shooting unwinding, shooting the crap. And I was like, I do not belong here. I just didn't fit in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Look, I think something weird's going on here in my head, because I'm coming through some of these stories, right, of recent stories, and I'm trying to I'm actually morphing, moving to the middle here, and I'm almost feeling, I'm sort of visualizing some of my most recent conversations in the selling environment, and they are much less aggressive. Like, a perfect example, I like to smoke cigars. I don't even smoke them that much. I like to chew them. And my favorite cigar store not too far from here, I'm there the other day, out on the patio smoking cigars, are 3 guys that I know from a large publicly traded company. These guys started from zero. They all rose up the ranks and have cashed out for millions in stock options.
Wow.
But they all still work hard.
Yep.
And I saw them. We all gave each other big high fives, hugs, all this sort of stuff. So, sit down. They're all drinking scotch. I don't drink anymore. Started smoking a cigar. And all we talked about were our kids.
Interesting.
We didn't talk about business at all. How your kids, Johnny doing football, Mary doing gymnastics. And it brought us all tighter. We were fist pumping about our kids by the end of this cigar.
Yeah.
And so even in this high octane, testosterone, money flowing table, what we really want to talk about is our families. Because I think men, by the way, women have an advantage. And it's an important maybe topic for women in the workplace too. But I think men do carry a lot of guilt about the fact that they're on the road.
Do you really? It makes sense. It makes sense.
It's easy for me to shut it down and make no apologies for it. But really, when you peel that onion back, I mean, you know, I try to have made time for my children, but I know a lot of guys that don't have the same luxury.
Yeah.
They need to be on the road 3-4 days a week.
Yep.
In a hotel room.
Yeah.
And that's just the way the job is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's tough. So
it is. It is. My daughter is finding out, actually already found out, and I don't know what the answer is, if she got her part in the school play. And when it just happened that way, she said, "You're not going to be there to pick me up." And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm not. Daddy is. Daddy's a good substitute for mommy. So yeah, I get that completely. So, you know, there are these unspoken advantages if we get back to men and women. And I think that what I'm learning from that, which is really fascinating, is men seem to be coming over to our side a little bit, ladies. I mean, they seem to be, whether it's, you know, through just life experiences or whether it's through, I don't know, the marketplace changing, as you said, but you seem to be coming over to this relational style of selling a little bit more. Am I hearing that right?
I'm right there with you on it. And I'm going to go with my age and my experience taking me in that direction.
Yeah.
Because I think most kids in their early 20s, male, female, irrelevant, don't hustle enough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I think if you're in your 20s, you don't need to be worried about relationships and kids and all that sort of stuff. You need to be worried about your career and how much money and skills can you develop to stack and rack. When you get to be my age, maybe you start to reflect back on it. But if I didn't have any of that crushing decade and a half of just going for it, I wouldn't even be in a position to reflect.
Yeah. And I don't know that I would either. I think that is a little bit of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So, you know, your most basic needs have to be met. Some of those are food and survival. And in our society, money plays into food and survival. Mm-hmm. And then once you get those needs met and you get to a place, then you're able to get more reflective. That's probably
you know,
not
it's a good word. I also think you, as your skill set develops too, you begin to look at things and you become a puppeteer and you have more tools in your tool belt that you can pull.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. I was in LA a week and a half ago speaking, and my Uber driver said, Oprah lives right up here, and it was in Santa Barbara, and something about, I don't remember, but something about she does yoga or something and contemplates the meaning of life. And my mom actually was with me, and she said, God, it must be nice to just sit around and contemplate the meaning of life. And I said, yeah, when you're Oprah, I bet the meaning of life is pretty dang good.
You're really on the meaning of life.
You're really getting there, right? I'm still fighting to hit that, multi-million-dollar mark, but I'm going to get there. So we've talked a little bit. I'm going to go back because we've told a lot of stories, but we've talked about three gender differences in selling, and to a lot here as to how these may be shifting. But the first one is aggression. Men, you're always going to be able to be more aggressive than a woman. I'm sorry, but you can look at the political landscape. I don't care if you're a bad hombre or a nasty woman or whatever it is they're saying now, Clinton or Trump. I don't care. You can look at the political landscape and see that women who are aggressive don't always come out smelling like roses. They don't come out looking like the nicest kid on the block. So, men, you're always going to be able to use aggression and have that, or conflict, have that in your tool belt when you need it. You're going to be able to use it better than women. Intuition, women, you're going to be able to use that better than men in most cases. As long as you stay connected to your body, you're going to get those intuitive hits like Matt's wife, and you're just going to know, yeah, maybe this is not the time to go for the close. Maybe I need to come back. And then relationships. And I think that this is an area where we both can excel. I don't know that men or women necessarily are better at this than others. I think women for a long time had the leg up here, but I think this is where you're starting to see the changes in the marketplace, and men are really coming over and saying all of these things are important, because all things being equal, you want to buy from somebody you like. All things being unequal, you want to buy from somebody you like.
Yes. But it's really important, though, that the people fully understand, regardless of your gender, you better come with your A game.
Absolutely.
The marketplace demands your A game.
It does. And I need to relook at the stat, but I think we see over 8,000 messages a day. I think that's the stat, 8,000 messages a day. I don't care if you're selling financing, if you're selling a product, I don't care what you're selling, you are competing with every one of those messages, every single one. So you have to bring your A game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you got to know how to sell people. So let's talk about the number that leads us very, very beautifully into the number one mistake you're making. And stats don't lie about this. You may want to roll your eyes. You may want to say, I've already heard it. But if you're not making all the money you want to, then you're not doing it right. So Matt, any guesses as to what the number one mistake is?
Are we talking about selling, or are we talking about gender-based selling?
Selling in general.
I'm going to say the number one mistake that people are making is that they're not following up enough.
How about that from Sales Grade? Of course he got it right. Of course he did. Stats show that 50% or more of all sales are closed in follow-up communication. Stats also show that less than 2% of seasoned salespeople follow up more than 3 times. Now listen, you may know this, but don't act like you're doing it. Because if you were doing it, you'd be making more money. It's just that simple. You must learn to follow up. You must. Stats don't lie. Tell me, Matt, when you see with your salespeople, what difference does follow-up make?
It's such a sore subject for me. I mean, it just,
Why?
oh my God, it chaps my hide.
Oh God, I didn't know this.
Yeah. We have 10,000 customers that we've done business with. And so we refer to those as our acres of diamonds.
Okay.
And when I look back at how poorly we have managed our acres of diamonds, we have left, I think, tens of millions of dollars of net profit, not rev, net profit on the table in 21 years of doing a poor job. We just recently pulled, of those roughly 10,000 customers, something like 6,000 we did one deal with. Now listen, we get to know you. We know your credit. We know your tax returns. We know your bank statements. We know your buying patterns. We know where you live. We know how much credit card debt you have. We know what your mortgage is. And we only leveraged it once to help you. It's horrendous. So it's a real sore subject, because follow-up, and what you might be referencing is follow-up to get the business, but it also goes further that says follow-up to keep the business.
Absolutely.
The one call close is over. The methodology, I mean, in our office now, we not only do we use the phone a lot, but we use texting a lot. We use email a little. I'm not a huge fan of email, but we use social a lot. We want to be in the ecosystem of your cell phone now. That's what we want. And by texting, I can be in there. And then I get to push lots of different content, my book, these other things we've done, all the videos we have. And so we look at a 7-touch program in an effort to try to win the customer's business. And then unfortunately, I'm the leader. We've fallen into the trap of, oh, we got the deal. What's the next deal? Where's the next deal? Where's the next deal?
Yeah.
And our numbers reflect that. It's a harder way to make money.
It's such a harder way to make money, because what is the stat? 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. I mean, there you go.
But for all those years, I was such a hard driving guy that my stance was, we'll find more. We'll find more. We'll find more. And instead, like, Coach Michael Burt?
Yeah.
So Coach Burt has done some work with us. Coach talks about, you really need about top 25.
Yeah.
Just show them love all year long.
Yep.
You'll be okay.
Yep.
My stance is we need like 2,500. No, we need like 25.
So Matt, I don't know if you know this story or not, but when I got started in the online world 5 years ago, when I left my pharmaceutical job and started my own business, good pharmaceutical job, and my parents and everybody who knew me, including my husband, wanted to have me committed. When I left that job, I decided that I was going to do free sessions with people. And I was going to solve one area of their sales process for them, whatever that was. Bring me your problem. You're going to leave with a solution. I treated those people like they paid me $10,000. And it seemed like, with the snap of my fingers, all of a sudden people started, you could see online, have you talked to Kendrick? Kendrick Shope, she'll help you out. She's got your best interest at heart. I followed up with them. I sent them happy Thanksgiving emails. I sent them, and it literally allowed my business within a year to hit 6 figures, within 4 years to hit 7. I mean, it's unbelievable, just by taking care of the people that you start with.
It's not something I'm proud of. And so for anyone listening and watching, what you need to do is understand, show love show love to as many people as you possibly can in the sales cycle. And love is, look, you call love, that works for me if you want. But what I mean is attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I chose this as the number one mistake you're making. I mean, there are lots of mistakes that people make in the sales process, but I'm going to be honest. I testify like it's a hot Sunday morning in a Southern Baptist church about this, because I see the difference that it makes in people's business. And I'm talking about dollars. It makes people money.
We would be 5 times the size that we are if we had understood this message on day one.
Yeah.
And if we had actually cared more on day one.
Yeah.
I didn't care. All I cared about was growth, scale, more, share, more. And I missed it. Now we're trying to come back, and a lot of customers saying, I wish you guys had called me. Yeah. I'm good now.
I gotta say, for any of my audience watching, Matt is like, he is illustrating the reason that I have a business. I love sitting here with him because he talks about doing it the old way, right? The old school way. And then he comes back over. He didn't know authentic selling then, but he's essentially talking about using the tactics and the strategies that we teach or that I teach in authentic selling to grow your business. And it feels better, right? I mean, you can see it in your demeanor when you talk about it, that it's a better feeling way of doing business.
It is, but people are, listen, you got to play the hand you're dealt.
You do.
And so, everybody might want this wonderful finish, but the reality is you got to pick up the shovel and start digging.
You got to start digging. You do.
And so don't get caught up. Everybody wants to be Zuckerberg, right?
Yeah.
I think that sometimes you just need to pick up the shovel, and you need to worry about payroll, and you're not exactly sure how you're going to do it. You got to put a little patience to the business. And if you do a lot of these things right, I did so many things wrong though. I mean, really, you're teaching a process that works. It's very predictable. The process I went through, which was leave the cave every day, not sure if you're going to come home, kill it, drag it back, skin it, and eat it yourself. Now I want to do all that, but I want to share it with as many people as I possibly can. It's different now.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
But you got to leave the cave and kill it and drag it back.
You do. Absolutely. And that is, a lot of my people get stuck in sitting behind the computer because they run online businesses. And I'm like, you can't get stuck behind the computer. You've got to get out there and engage. You've got to get out there where your customers are. Now, that may be through social media.
Yes.
That may be through, your email list. I don't care what it is. But you have to get out and be among your people, and you got to do the work.
So what you're saying there is leaving the cave could be get engagement and
Absolutely.
push more content and all sorts of stuff, versus kind of where I'm reflective is leave the cave meant literally in 100-degree weather in Texas, go knock on doors.
Exactly. Depends on what you're selling.
It's a much easier way to do it now.
It is. It absolutely is. Okay, so let's review the promises of what we had you join us for today. 3 key differences in the way men and women succeed, and that was my little mnemonic device there called AIR. Aggression, intuition, and relationships. How to use your sex to get more yeses. And that's where we talked about, women, use your looks. Use them. Men, use your ability to be the guy you want to hang out with, to be Howard, if you will, the guy that you want to have a drink with. Use that. Use your sex to get more yeses. The one mistake that you're missing that's costing yourself sales, and I love that Matt was so honest and open and transparent with us about what he wished he had done differently in his business, because this man runs a multi-million-dollar business, y'all. I mean, he is brilliant. And for him to be able to say, I wish we had done this, really, you need to pay attention to that. You need to pay attention to that. And then uncover who's better at selling once and for all. We haven't done that, but I think we're leaning towards the men are coming over to this authentic selling style approach. Matt, what do you think?
It's a numbers game still. There's far more men in the game than there are women. By the way, that's always a space I like to play in. I always like to play in the underdog space. Our world of equipment financing is dominated by large publicly traded banks. I like to be to have that much scale. So I think it's a runway for women. Listen, I'm going to go and I'm going to play the political card.
All right.
And I'm going to say that it doesn't matter, because if you get this stuff right and you skill up and you practice this and you follow this roadmap, it's somewhat irrelevant, because at the end of the day, the best person in selling will win, because you could be the most beautiful supermodel and not deliver an appropriate solution, and you will lose.
I agree. And that's my exact same answer. And that's why we complement each other so well, because you can see how different we are and how similar we are. And yet we both are very successful at selling. And so I think that it is the skill set that matters. It is how you go out and do it that matters. How you treat your people, how you get attention, how you stay in the forefront of their mind, how you create customer retention. That's what matters.
But if all equal,
Yeah.
if that's all equal,
Yeah, if that's all equal,
I think most men would choose the beautiful sales rep.
I would agree with that. So when I started talking about this, I called my dad. He runs a business in Tennessee, and I said, all right, I'm going to go there. I'm going to cross this line. Your daughter's going to do it. So what's the answer? And he's like, are you kidding me? This is even a question? Of course I'd rather sit across, from a woman than a man. Like, whoops, are you kidding me? I'm okay to admit that. So yeah, but I think you're right. All the key here is getting all those things right.
It is. Who's going to put in the time? I also think to kind of just finish here, you really do have to understand what is the intention of the scaling up session. Again, if you want to surf in Costa Rica 6 months out of the year, there is nothing wrong with that play. No. But if you want to be in big world, deep waters, real business, I'm talking 6-figure personal incomes, maybe 7-figure personal incomes. I'm certainly talking 6. I'm talking 7 and 8-figure businesses. You got to know how the game's played.
You do. But I think that regardless of where you are, even if you want to surf in Costa Rica 6 months a year, you still got to be able to fund surfing in Costa Rica 6 months a year.
You better be good
so
for the other 6 months.
You better know what you're doing and know how to do it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm all for crushing it for 6 months. I take November and December off. I bust it.
Here's the funniest thing for all those people that do want to do that. Staying in the nice place for 6 months in Costa Rica is a heck of a lot better than staying in the beach hut.
So much nicer.
So much
nicer.
Surf all day, but you don't have to walk so far.
Exactly. All right. So we've talked a little bit today about, obviously there are differences in the way we sell, and you can look at Matt and you can look at me, and of course there are differences, and you can even look at the way we talk about the exact same topic, and we use different adjectives and we use different words, but we're essentially saying the same thing. But here's what's important to know. I want to give you permission to close your customers in a different way. There are sales tactics out there that work. There is the take it away close, like Matt talked about, and it worked, but it doesn't work for me because I'm not good at that, because that's not who I am innately. So I created a product called How to Close Every Sale. And I take words pretty literal. I'm a word nerd. So I take words pretty literal, and I intentionally put the word every sale in there. And the reason I put that in there is because in this $99 product, I give you 7 strategies to close a deal. Some are more aggressive. Some are going to call on aggression. Some are going to call on relationships. Some are even going to call on, believe it or not, that loving on your customers, letting them off the hook. But there are 7 strategies that I teach, and it allows my customers to make millions when they start closing deals like this. And so I'm going to bring back these sexy legs, and I'm going to offer that to you here today. $99, how to close. This says more sales, but the product's actually called How to Close Every Sale. And you're going to learn 7 verbatim. You're going to learn exactly what to say, exactly what to type, exactly what you need to do to get more sales, to get a yes from those prospects. And ultimately, that makes me happy because you're doing more of what you love, and we're both making money. And to me, that's part of my mission around this planet.
Hey, how about we throw in a copy of my my audiobook of The Grit in that offer?
Oh, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Everybody who buys that, we'll send a link to the download of the Grit audiobook.
That'd be awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to show it right here.
Yeah.
Check this out. So you're going to get a free copy of this book. Awesome.
All right.
Matt Manero combines his business brilliance with more than 20 years of hands-on experience. Seriously, y'all. Matt, I'm so honored to know him. He's so smart. Thank you for doing that, Matt. That's awesome.
That's great. I want people to, that book might actually complement those who are continuing to build their business, because it really goes into some old school and just sort of foundational ways that we've built this business that will always stand the test of time.
Yeah, I love that. My granddaddy says there are some absolutes that you just don't,
Yeah,
you can't get around.
of
And
course.
so
There's-
that's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Awesome.
So that concludes our time together, where I think that the most important takeaway is you got to do business right. You got to get out there, you got to hustle, and you got to use whatever you have to get your message out there.
Now here's the big play though. Does the end of the sales call go like this between male and female, or does it go like this? How does the sales call end? What's the right way to do it?
Well, I'm going to say I was a bit of a hugger. I'm sure you're not surprised by that, Matt, but I was a bit of a hugger. It starts with a handshake and ends with a hug, maybe. How's that?
That's a good one right there. Yeah.
Thank
If you get to the hugging stage with your client, you're in good shape.
Absolutely.
That's good. I like
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much for being here. It has been so much fun, and we got to do this again, Matt.
I loved it, Kendrick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.